All right, we're in the final stretch, so thank you all for staying till the very end. And a lot of times they say you leave the best for last, and it's really my pleasure to make this introduction to Helen Young Hayes, who, in really short order, has become a friend and somebody that is one of my go-to people with regard to workforce development. One of the things that a recurring theme from today has been the role of employers. How do we go from the old train and pray to really making those connections? And we've had some conversations about the need for intermediaries. Helen Hayes, I think, is on the cusp of a really interesting solution that can pull all of those things together. Helen comes from Janus Worldwide, where she served as chief investment officer and a director. She had huge portfolios, and she really enjoyed trying to figure out where there was untapped value. And the way she likes to tell the story, and that makes a lot of sense, is now she's taking that to the world of nonprofits and trying to figure out where there is that untapped value. Where have we not figured out how to make these connections? And so she's taking that and coming up with a very interesting solution of how to bring all of the different people who are trained from places like Serve West Dallas or Women's Bean Project or any of the other places that have been mentioned today, and how to make that match for employers. So I hope I've got you interested enough, because Helen's a very serious person. and so she's got a lot, it's very pithy. There's a lot of stuff to unbundle when she gives her talk, but hopefully you'll enjoy hearing from her as much as I have. Helen, that's your setup.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. We're in the final stretch. The finish line is in sight, so thanks for hanging with me till the bitter end. Joe, thanks for drawing the short stick for me and putting me last. So I don't have any slides. I don't have any slides today, but I am going to talk about something that I'm so passionate about that I'll talk your ear off if the clock isn't ticking on me. I was watching the Kentucky Derby on Saturday, which is something that I never do, and I had a very random thought, which was, I wonder what's a better strategy. Is it to put a lot of horses in the race, or is it better to invest in the horse that will win the race? And so if the goal is to win the Derby, the best strategy is to invest the right training into the right horse. For the last 6 years, the favorite to win has won the Derby. And successful owners know the formula, they know what it takes to succeed, and they invest in the winning strategy. What if workforce development were the same way? What if workforce development were as laser focused on success as in the Derby? We would define success in a really meaningful and specific way, and we would invest in winning strategies. We would hit the target more often and waste less money in the process, and we would actually move the needle. So what we need is workforce development that is employer-centric. Without employers, we don't have jobs. And too often, the outcomes of workforce development miss the mark. What we need is an employer-centric mindset. We need to put the work back in workforce development. And how can we do that? Well, we need to understand that employers hold the key to poverty alleviation. The current situation in workforce development is really dire, and I'm going to be blunt. In workforce, we too often accept really low outcomes. Workforce development is characterized by focus on activities and not outcomes. What good is serving lots and lots of people if you serve the same people over and over again? What good is serving an individual if a 30-minute encounter counts as a person served? There's no transformation in that. What good are activities like resume writing and mock interviews? They might help someone get the job, but they will not help someone keep the job. And what good is the current focus on job placement? If jobs are held for 1 or 2 weeks, sometimes 2 or 3 months, and the person is not skilled enough to retain the jobs. What we're left with is what are some of the major outcomes of workforce development, which is a revolving door cycle of low-wage, entry-level jobs without individuals possessing the skills necessary to succeed in the jobs. We have missed the mark. Well, at Activate, we are a bridge. We focus on the gaps that are left in workforce development. Those gaps are, there's a big a chasm between job seekers and jobs. There's a chasm between for-profits who need workers and nonprofits who are training workers. But there is no way to get these connections to be made. That's why I was frustrated with workforce, and that's why I decided to do something about it. So at Activate, we start with the basic premise that employers are the customers and the ultimate critical endpoint of workforce development. We ask ourselves, what do employers need? And we work backwards from that. We ask, what do employers need? And we've asked our employers, and they tell us, as we heard from BNSF today, that what employers need is people who show up to work every day and on time. They need people who work hard for their entire shift. They need people who can get along with their coworkers and people who can receive and respond to feedback. And employers need retained employees who add value to the bottom line. Every employer needs employees who add value to the bottom line. What good is a 3-month employee to an employer? That employee has not begun to earn back the cost of hiring and training. What good, for that matter, is a 3-month job to a person in poverty? Cycles of revolving door entry-level jobs do nothing to break poverty. At Activate, we focus on being employer-centric, and we serve 2 functions for our employers. We are recruiters and we're job coaches. As recruiters, we ask ourselves and our employers, what do you need? Employers need retained, successful employees. They need people who have the work ethic and initiative to succeed in the job. And so that's what we go out and we find for them. We work for employers as recruiters, and we find for them skilled talent that is going to succeed in the job, advance in the job, and break the cycle of poverty permanently. We help employers make great hires. How do we do this? We assess individuals for 10 plus hours to determine their job readiness and their job fit. And when we find an employee that an employer wants, we endorse the candidate. Our endorsements mean a lot because we focus on job retention. We are not a job placement program. We are a job retention program, and our goals are in line and perfectly in sync with what employers want. They want a retained employee, and that's what we're going to help them find, someone who is going to stay in the job and make an impact to the bottom line. And so as recruiters, we rigorously assess job readiness, we find the right candidate, and when we make an endorsement, our employers know that our candidates are going to be ready to work and ready to succeed. As a result, our employers give us access to better jobs, full-time jobs with permanent benefits and career path jobs. We place individuals into an average of $15 per hour. With benefits, that's about $17 an hour. Our average placements earned $1,000 before us and earn on average $2,600 after we place them. But that is just the first step. We help our employers make great hires, but we help them convert these great hires into great employees, because getting a job is not the end goal. It's just the first step. As recruiters, we work with our recruitees to help them access the skills and the talents that they're going to need to succeed long term. We teach them how to become promotable by teaching them organizational awareness and who is next and what comes next, and to get to know everyone and to develop social capital. We teach our candidates to master 3 buckets of skills: the don't get fired skills, the how to succeed in your job skills, and the how to get yourself promoted skills. These are critical skills, and you can't leave one out unless you want, if you want to move people out of poverty. And so we coach for 6 months after placement. We get our referrals from our nonprofit partners, and our nonprofit partners make recommendations of job-ready individuals for us. We work with 18 nonprofit programs in Denver. They represent the whole spectrum of workforce development. Some workforce programs consistently send us job-ready individuals. We score every referral, by the way, in job readiness. And some programs will consistently hit the ball out of the park, and we can place those individuals every single time. Other programs struggle to send us one job-ready individual. They might serve thousands in a year, but they struggle to send us one. These are the programs that we don't want to spend money on. We want to spend money on the successful programs. Finally, I've only got 55 seconds here, and I'm getting a little bit out of breath because of this pace, but what are the elements that make a great job training program? They need to have work experience, as we saw with Cafe Momentum, that build into the program, increasing accountability and mimic real-world work. We need soft skills training. It is critical to equip our individuals to be successful, to know how to carry on a conversation, to network, to get along with their coworkers. And we need post-placement support. This is often lacking in workforce development, but we need that ongoing support after we place them. We feel it takes 3 months just to get settled and 3 months to weather the end of the honeymoon and then to develop the skills that are going to be impactful. So, what should we as donors do about workforce and the current state of workforce? As donors, we can elevate the whole quality of the system by demanding better quality outcomes. We can focus on getting individuals the skills that they will really need to succeed in work, not just for a month or 2, but we need to help them succeed for a lifetime, and that requires skills. We need to look under the hood of the organizations that we're funding, and we need to demand accuracy, transparency, and accountability. I will help you, if you want, to understand and look at some of the metrics that don't work. And finally, we need to develop an employer-centric mindset. We need to understand what the end point of the game of workforce development is, and we need to aim high, shoot for that target, and win. And I will say, even though I'm going over, that I realize that my Kentucky Derby analogy breaks down in many, many obvious ways for workforce, not the least of which is that in the Derby there is only one winner. But I believe that if we collectively in workforce development will focus on the right target and bet on the winning strategies, our communities, our taxpayers, our employers, and most importantly, the people that we serve, we will all be winners. Thank you.